You're listening to Built for Nature, an exploration of how humans are designed to live through first principles, light, water, magnetism, and the deeper forces that shape human biology. Today, I want to try and answer a big question. What causes cancer? This is one of the most studied, funded, and debated questions in modern medicine. And yet, despite decades of research, the dominant framework remains largely genetic. Cancer is caused by mutations. But what if that explanation is incomplete? What if mutations are part of the story, but not the origin of the problem? Today, I want to explore cancer through the lens of Roeland Van Wyck's book, Light and Shaping Life. The standard model is cancer is genetic damage. This prevailing model says DNA gets damaged, mutations accumulate, cells lose regulatory control, and they proliferate uncontrollably. And at one level, that's true. Cancer cells do contain mutations, but here's a deeper question. Why did the cell lose regulatory control in the first place? Because healthy cells accumulate DNA damage all the time, and yet they don't automatically become cancerous, so something else must be changing. In Light and Shaping Life, Roeland Van Wyck explores the phenomenon of biophotons, which are ultra-weak photon emissions from living cells, and definitively shows us that these biophotons are real, measurable emissions of light from biological systems. Van Wyck demonstrates how our cells communicate using coherent light signals. Light is not just an external input, it's internal regulation. Cells emit light, cells detect light, and cells synchronize through light. This tells us that biology operates through an electromagnetic signaling layer that's layered on top of chemistry, and coherence matters. And what do I mean by coherence? Coherence means order, synchronization, structured communication. Van Wyck discusses how healthy cells emit light in more ordered, regulated patterns, while stressed or diseased cells show disrupted, chaotic emission patterns, less coherence, more noise. And this is important because cancer at its core is a loss of regulation, a loss of cellular order, a breakdown in communication. So what if cancer isn't just genetic damage, but a loss of bioenergetic coherence? This is where mitochondria enter the picture. Mitochondria are the main generators of cellular energy. In Power, Sex, Suicide, Nick Lane explains that mitochondria don't just make ATP, they regulate apoptosis, which is programmed cell death. Healthy cells that become too damaged are supposed to self-destruct. That's protective, but in many cancers, apoptosis fails. Cells that should die survive. And this shows us that the problem isn't just mutation, it's signaling. Mitochondria are redox sensors. They monitor the energy state of the cell. When energy regulation breaks down, signaling breaks down. And when signaling breaks down, regulation breaks down. So now let's add another layer. In the fourth phase of water, Dr. Jared Pollack demonstrates how structured easy water plays a critical role in cellular function. Easy water forms near hydrophilic surfaces, including inside cells, and stores radiant energy. When cellular water loses structure, function degrades. Van Wyck's light-based model and Pollack's structured water model converge on something very important here. Order, structure, and energy organization matters, and cancer represents a collapse of cellular order across multiple layers. Genetic regulation, mitochondrial signaling, redox balance, electromagnetic coherence, and water structure. Cancer is not caused by just one thing, it's a systemic disorganization. Our cells rely on coherent energy signaling, which means our environmental inputs matter. Light exposure, circadian rhythm, electromagnetic environment, metabolic health, inflammation, all these influence mitochondrial function and redox balance. In Health and Light, John Ott showed us that artificial light environments alter biological regulation over time, not dramatically, but chronically. And since light influences cellular regulation and mitochondria are light-sensitive organelles, then environmental mismatches contribute to energetic instability. They won't cause cancer overnight, but they will increase disorder and instability over time. So what are some examples of environmental mismatches and other things that increase instability? Mitochondrial function is chronically impaired by persistent inflammation, hyperglycemia and metabolic dysfunction, sleep disruption, circadian misalignment, chronic artificial light exposure, sedentary behavior, and environmental toxins. None of these guarantee cancer, but they all increase biological noise and reduce coherence. And over time, as Van Wijk demonstrated, reduced coherence lowers the threshold for malignant transformation. And there's another layer worth discussing. Not just environmental toxins or artificial light, but chronic energetic overload. Mitochondria are adaptive. They respond to stress by becoming stronger, up to a point. Chronic extreme stress without adequate recovery will push the system toward instability. High volume endurance training, especially when paired with poor recovery, sleep disruption, or inadequate fueling, can create sustained oxidative stress and redox imbalance. Short-term stress builds resilience. Chronic unrelenting stress erodes it. From a mitochondrial perspective, energy production depends on controlled electron flow through the electron transport chain. If that flow becomes chronically dysregulated through inflammation, overtraining, metabolic dysfunction, or circadian disruption, electron leakage increases and redox balance shifts. Over time, persistent redox instability impairs DNA repair, weakens apoptosis signaling, and destabilizes cellular regulation. This suggests that chronic exhaustion without recovery can create conditions where regulation becomes less stable. An example of this, if not done correctly, could be ultramarathon running. Our bodies evolved for rhythmic stress, not constant maximal output. There's a difference between adaptive stress and chronic energetic debt. Cancer, in this framework, is not caused by effort, but by sustained biological incoherence. And incoherence will emerge when mitochondrial systems are pushed beyond their capacity to recover. Okay, incoherence is bad. So what then supports coherence? If cancer is disordered energy and signaling, then protective behaviors are what support mitochondrial efficiency, redox balance, circadian alignment, light integrity, metabolic flexibility, and structural cellular order. That means a lot of the biological signals we've been talking about already. Morning sunlight, regular movement, deep sleep, metabolic health, time outdoors, reducing unnecessary artificial exposures, not as magic cures, but as foundational stabilizers. It's important we're asking ourselves what environment allows cancer to take hold. If our system is energetically unstable, the threshold will be lower. And if our system is coherent, resilient, and metabolically robust, the threshold will be higher. Van Wijk's work challenges us to rethink biology as purely chemical. It invites us to consider that life operates through structured energy, light, electromagnetism, and redox signaling. Cancer represents a collapse of biological coherence, not just a mutation, but a systemic loss of order. The goal here is to expand the frame and move beyond genes randomly go bad. I believe we need to move toward asking questions like, what destabilizes cellular regulation in the first place? Because when you ask better questions, you get better answers. A powerful theme keeps resurfacing here. Health looks like coherence, order. Disease looks like chaos, disorder. And cancer is one of the most extreme forms of biological disorder. If nothing else, this perspective shifts the focus from fighting rogue cells to strengthening the energetic terrain that keeps cells regulated in the first place. Thanks for listening.